So based on where we started on our class one, we talked about signing the SOW. Okay, and we mentioned that once the SOW is signed, that's when the actual IT team gets into action. Okay, so before till signing the SOW, it's mainly about the sales and the marketing team getting into action. So once a contract is signed between the IT company and the client or the stakeholders, then we need to get started with the software development activity. Okay. So typically the software development activity or the IT team, this is how they are structured. Okay. So the core team, which is responsible for building the software, comprise of four main people. Okay. So the main team, which is responsible for building the software or executing the software development activities, comprise of four people. Okay. That is project manager or scrum master, business analyst, developer, and QA or tester. Okay, this is my main team, which will be working on the software development activities. For example, BA will be coordinating with product owner, okay, to work on requirements. Okay, nowadays there is a slight change in the way we coordinate with our clients. Earlier, every BA was directly working with one or the other client. But as the work expands or increases, it becomes difficult for client to manage the number of BAs, okay? And sometimes the responses are delayed. So as we move to a product-based structure, so what IT companies do is they will assign a product owner. Okay, again, from the same IT company only. So BAs will reach out to product owner for any related for any requirement related discussions. Okay, so the first point of contact for any BA in most of the companies is product owner. Now in case if you ask a question which product owner is unable to answer, okay, what will happen is product owner will either themselves connect to the client and get the answer, or can ask you to directly reach out to client. Whatever, that depends on how the product owner wants to handle the situation. But in any situation, in any case, you will not bypass the product owner to directly connect with client. Okay? Your first point of contact in your team for a BA is product owner. Okay? So BA will work with product owner, and then the product owner will work with the client themselves. Okay. Sometimes product owner can ask the BA to directly reach out to the client. Okay? But please note, in any situation, you will not bypass the hierarchy. Okay, so you need to coordinate with product owner. So only if product owner tells you that, hey, go and reach out to this particular client, you go and do that. Okay, you don't directly bypass the product owner and start talking to client. Okay, that will not go well in terms of building rapport. Okay? So this is how a BA will typically work. Then we have developers, then we have QAs or testers. Okay, so developers are responsible for writing code, and QAs are responsible for testing the accuracy or the efficiency of the code. Okay? Now, each of these roles, BA, developer, or QA, they will have their respective leads. Okay. Now, if you see, I have put the leads outside of the team, okay, because again, these leads, they might be working in multiple teams and not just one IT team. Okay. So what we see the structure here of one IT team, like that, there will be multiple teams. Okay. So the leads can be shared across multiple teams, whereas BA developer QA for one particular team will be working in that team only. Now the primary responsibility for the leads is to guide the team, okay, or guide their respective person. For example, I am a BA. Okay, now I have some aspirations, like I feel I need to take some training to enhance my knowledge, or I need to go for certifications to enhance my knowledge. What will I do? I'll reach out to my respective lead. Similarly, a developer is not able to write code, or while writing code the code is failing, or they are not able to write down the exact logic for the requirements. They understood the requirement, but for that requirement, they are not able to write code. So, in such technical challenges, they will reach out to their respective leads. Similarly, a QA wants someone to review their test plan first. Okay. QA has some doubt related to how a testing is done, or QA wants some type of training or certification. So they will reach out to their respective lead first. Okay. So the leads shared across multiple teams, their primary responsibility is to guide the team in terms of technical roles, in terms of career progress. Okay. The project manager or scrum master, their duty is to ensure that team delivers the assigned task. Okay. Suppose if BA is assigned one task, then the BA works on it and finishes it on time. Developer works on it and finishes their task on time. Similarly for QA. Okay. A project manager or scrum master may not guide you exactly in terms of your technical needs or technical help. So that's why you have your respective leads. Okay. So leads are more of technical experts. Okay. Now you have another role called technical architect. Okay. So we will see how a technical architect gets involved with the team. Okay. When we talk about the project size. Okay. But this is how a typical team structure would look like. In between your team members and scrum master, okay, you'll have frequent interactions. Okay. Almost on daily basis, there will be interaction between the team members. Other than that, a BA will have frequent interactions with product owner as well. It might not be on daily basis, but it might be on work basis. Whenever a new work comes in, a product owner might pull in a BA. Suppose if product owner decides that the work should go to team one, and if you are the BA for team one, then you will start working with product owner. If product owner decides that the work should go to team two, and suppose I am the BA of team two, then that particular work should go to me. Okay. Wherein I will be responsible for working with product owner in terms of getting the requirements. Okay. So a product owner usually handles multiple teams, not just one team, multiple teams. And it is at the discretion of product owner to assign the work. Okay, and accordingly, that particular BA will start coordinating with product owner. Okay. So this core team members, they will interact on hmm, frequent basis, almost on daily basis. Okay. And then they have their respective leads for clarifying any technical doubts or providing technical guidance to respective members. And you have product owner, a BA will work with product owner to identify requirements, to build requirement documents. Okay, first line of contact. Now this is important to remember because this is where most of the organizations are actually heading towards. Okay. Now I said we will discuss about technical architect based on the project size or types. Okay. So generally, in order to plan the work efficiently, plus how much money needs to be put in, okay, organizations, what they will do is they will try to divide the project into different types based on estimates. Okay. So generally, the estimate means how much effort will be consumed by BA plus developer, the core team members, plus QA, plus project management, or what we call as oversight hours. Okay. So majorly, the effort for these four members constitute to estimate. Okay. Whatever effort is given for each of these four members is what drives the estimate. Okay. So based on estimate, we can have a project into different categories. See, the naming can change. Okay, whatever names I give doesn't mean that every organization has to give the same name. Okay, the name can change from organization to organization, but the basic idea remains the same. The estimate for core team members. Okay, so first category is small projects. Okay, so basically these talk about the effort for team which is less than or equal to 500 hours. Okay. So meaning 500 hours combined for BA, developer, QA and oversight hours. If it is less than equal to 500, it is considered as a small project. Okay. And I'll tell you what's the significance, another significance other than planning and budget. What's the other significance of it? Then we have medium type projects, okay, wherein we say anything over 500 hours, but less than, and then we have large projects where you can say it is anything greater than 1500 hours. Okay. Now I have given you four uh, bifurcations based on my experience so far. But please make a note that these bifurcations may vary from company to company. But every company will have some type of bifurcation. Okay? Why this bifurcation is needed is to plan the work, to budget the work, okay, and also how this can help me as a BA. So as a BA, when I'm working on a small project which is typically less than equal to 500 hours, what it means is that the work can be handled by the team itself. Okay, that means it's a very small work. Say, for example, uh, I have this icon over here, okay, in this notepad. If you see this blue color icon, maybe I want to change that icon from blue color to, let's say, red color. Maybe I want to flip the position of file and edit menu option. I want edit to come first and then file should come later. Okay. And then maybe under this edit option or file option, wherever you can say, suppose this print option is not there. I want to add a print option also. So, okay, you see, though the entire project involves three different changes, changing icon, flipping position, and adding a new option for print, okay, though it broadly requires three different changes, but these are relatively straightforward and simple changes. Okay. So the expectation is my team can work by itself. They don't require any outside assistance. Okay. If people require outside assistance, then definitely this effort will be more than 500 hours. Now, for all the medium, large, and complex projects, the expectation is that my team cannot manage the work by themselves. So we need external interference. Okay. So probably a medium complexity work means that there is slightly more changes that are needed. Okay. Things like redesigning an existing application. Okay. So in such instances, you might take help of tech lead. Okay. We have the lead developer. Okay. So you might involve tech lead in doing the design rather than developer doing the design. In a small work, you rely on developer to do the design and coding. Okay. When it's a medium complexity work or a project size of medium complexity, then you expect the technical lead to step up and do the design, and developer will follow the design prepared by the technical lead. Okay. From a requirement perspective, it will still be the BA plus product owner. From a technical perspective, maybe because it's a slightly more complex work, so you might involve tech lead. Yeah. Now for the other two, the large projects and the complex projects, okay, since these are slightly complex in nature, maybe let's say you want to develop a new application, okay, which is currently not available with the client. So in such instances, you might require the guidance of a technical architect plus tech lead. So technical architect can do the initial design. That design can help technical lead to prepare more detailed design. Okay. Then initial design plus detailed design will help developer write the code. Okay. And this might span across multiple teams. Okay. Let me copy this aspect as well. Okay. So you might have a common technical architect, you might have a common technical lead, but the work could span across multiple teams. That my team will be doing one part of the work, another team will be doing another part of the work. Let's say I'm building a payment gateway solution. Okay, suppose I am the owner of e-commerce platform. Currently, we offer only cash on delivery. Now we want to offer online payments as well. So I can work with BA to share the requirements. Once BA documents the requirement, or once I as a product owner decides that, there are multiple teams that should be involved. One team should be working on building the payment gateway. One team should be working on making the changes in the application or website. Then one team should be working on generating reports. So if I decide as a product owner that there are different category of work and different team needs to be involved, okay, then I can accordingly distribute the work in multiple teams. But generally, whenever a work involves multiple teams, that means it's a fairly large or a complex project. Okay. Now, how does it help you as a BA? Okay. So when I'm part of a large or a complex project, I know that I cannot work alone. Okay. At some point in time, there has to be coordination between different teams. Okay. So what I do is I start asking product owner certain basic questions. Okay. Or in IT, you can say everything revolves around these basic questions only. The first question is around input. What input am I going to get? Who is going to give me input? If I have multiple teams, suppose if if a project is divided between four teams, then who is going to give me input? In what format I am going to give input? Your questions will be around how do I receive the data? Okay. What format do I receive the data? What time do I receive the data? Then who is going to give me the data so that I can coordinate with them to send me the data? Once I receive the data, then what is the process that needs to happen on that data? What do I do once I receive the data? Okay. Once I have processed the data, then what is the output that I need to generate? Okay. Which team will get this output? Okay. How do we share the output? Similar to input related questions. In what format, what time, which team will receive the output? Okay. So that way I can accordingly coordinate with multiple teams. Okay. See, that's the primary aspect. As a BA, the difference between a good BA and a not so good BA is this particular questions only. When I know my dependency with multiple teams, I can make a note of it, I can make a point of it, and then accordingly I can coordinate. Okay. So right at the start of the project, I know my dependencies and I am coordinating with them. But a not so good BA, what they will do is they will directly jump onto requirement gathering. They will directly start writing requirement. Once we get more deeper into project, once the developer starts coding and developer says that I'm done with coding, now in order to test my code, I need a file. Okay. I need a file to test my code. That's when the BA gets into action and realizes that, oh, who is going to give me file? Okay. Then they reach out to product owner. Then they start coordinating with product owner. Product owner tells that team A will give you the file. So now BA starts reaching out to team A that please give me the file. We are dependent on you. If you don't give the file, our work is delayed. Okay. Team A will say that you never reached out to me before. We have not planned this work and for next 1 month. So our work will start after 1 month. Okay. Now all of a sudden what happened? Because BA did not plan for the activities well, the team will suffer. Okay. So now the BA will come back to the team and say that team A will start the work after 1 month. That's when they can give us the files. Okay. So we need to wait for 1 more month. That is option one, wait. Option two, you go back to product owner and say that we have started the work. So please push the team A also to start the work. So that way, when product owner pushes the team A, they will also start the work. But then again, there will be delay. If they start the work, they will take some time to generate the file. Okay. So we don't want to get into all these hassles. See, these are extremely small and minor points in your opinion, but trust me, when things go out of control, these small points itself is what make difference. Okay. If you work on any project, the very first question you should be asking as a BA is, what is the estimate for the project? Okay. The very first question before you get onto any project is ask whoever is assigning you the work, the product owner, the scrum master, or the project manager, ask them certain questions. First question to ask is what is the estimate? Okay. If you feel the estimates are small, then just for confirmation, if I know that it's a small project means my team needs to handle by itself. But just for confirmation, I'll check the teams involved. Okay. I don't want to make over assumptions. So I'll just confirm what are the teams involved. If I get to know I am the only person involved, well and good. Okay. If there are multiple teams involved, then accordingly, these questions get into picture. Okay. From which team am I going to get input? In what format? What file? And these questions will help me not just with coordination among multiple teams, but help me write down my requirements well. Okay. Suppose if I write down my requirement like you will receive a file The file will have email IDs. Take the email IDs from the file, process it, process in terms of validate if it is a correct email ID or not, and then send a verification email. Suppose new users wants to register on my e-commerce platform. So whenever you register, whenever you provide your email ID, generally you receive a verification link. Okay. So suppose my team is responsible for generating that verification link. So I can write a requirement saying I'll receive a file. In that file, there will be email IDs, validate whether email ID is correct or not, and generate a verification link and send it to that email ID. Okay. This is one way of writing requirement, or I can provide more details like team A will will build the UI and they will be responsible for providing us the list of email IDs. Okay. Once we receive a file, or as soon as we receive a file, our process should trigger. Our process should verify, validate, and then generate a verification link. Okay. Then what should happen? Once you have generated the verification link, send the response back to team A. Now, the second type of requirement makes more sense. Why? Because now I have identified how many teams are involved, and accordingly, I'm able to frame my questions better. Okay. So, as a BA, it's all about understanding what work needs to be done. Okay. Don't think that if you ask questions, you become a fool. Okay. Or people will call you stupid, that why are you asking questions? Okay. That's never the case. Do not hesitate to ask questions. The more you hesitate to ask questions, BA role will become more and more difficult for you. Okay. The questions that you ask and how you ask those questions, that should definitely improve over time. Okay, and that is what we will check in the skills on competencies next section, that how do you manage what type of questions to be asked to the client. But please note, it is very important for you to understand what the entire process is. And in order to understand the entire process or project, you have to ask questions. So never be hesitant of asking questions. Okay. Now, along with this, you can also ask some questions like overview of the work. Okay, or let me put it this way, that along with estimate, the next question could be overview. I want to understand the bigger picture, what we are trying to achieve here. Okay. From that bigger picture, I can be executing a smaller part. Like I said, na, we want to build a payment gateway. So we want to make changes in our website. We want to tie up with a vendor. We want to generate reports. So that's the overall picture. Maybe from that overall picture, my contribution is only making changes in the website. So I will document requirements for making changes in the website. My team will do the coding accordingly. Okay. So from the overall picture, my contribution is just onto one part, but still as a BA, I need to understand the bigger picture, what the product is heading towards. Okay. If I understand the bigger picture, then only I can ask what are the different teams involved. Then only I can ask the end-to-end question. Okay. In IT, everything revolves around these three only. If you understand these three parts well for any project, you will not have trouble with any processes. Okay. Now, any questions so far with respect to team structure, with respect to project sizes? So there we have the team structure. Now you know how a technical architect's involved. So any questions with respect to team structure or project size? Okay, so I'll take the silence as no questions. I hope you guys are able to follow along. Yes, no, you're able to understand, having difficulty understanding.
No, understandable.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
So the chat,
this business analyst process will be applied only to software development, or it can be used for ham also.
so it can be used outside of software development also, but our training is specific to software development only.
Okay, all right.
So we'll go ahead. Now, the next topic that we want to go over is in order to do your job efficiently in software development, what are the different skills that you require? Okay, what are the different competencies that you require? If you develop these skills or competencies, you will be able to do your job efficiently. Okay. So the number one thing, okay, I'll put on very small items, and the reason why I say all things are small, because as a BA, the challenge is with respect to continuity. Okay, the challenge is not in executing a task. You will say, what is difficult in making notes? I can make notes, not a problem. Okay, it's an easy thing. So in IT or in any domain that you work on, things are relatively easy or straightforward only. The challenge is continuity. Can you make notes every day for every single meeting? There will be times when you want to break the routine, when you want to come out of it. Okay? And sometimes you will realize when you want to break the routine or come out of it, that is when you face challenges as well. That is when you face trouble also. So in the starting, when I started my journey as a BA, sometimes I would make notes, sometimes I would forget to make notes. And I realized whenever I am forgetting to make notes, those projects, they always had some issue. Like I'll discuss with client, because like 10 years back, we used to directly have conversations with client. So when I'm discussing with client, maybe let's say we will discuss on 5 different points. But because I did not make note, so at the end of the day, I might remember only 2 or 3 points. I'll forget 2 points. Now what happens is, because I don't have notes, so again next day I'll set up a follow-up meeting with the client to reconfirm what we discussed. And that is when I found that client is getting irritated. Okay. So if I would have made the notes, I would have captured the 5 points, and I would reach out to client for next level of questions. I'll not reach out to client for asking the same question again and again. So the challenge is not that you cannot write notes, but getting into the habit, making it as a continuous activity. So the first thing that I want you to do is, for each one of you, you should not think that when I get into job, then only I'll may start making notes. Okay? For every class that you attend, for every class that you attend, for every class, without fail, start making notes. Okay? If you look at what I have, this is from me getting into habit of notes. Okay, see, I am talking a lot of things, but am I writing everything in my notes? No, I am capturing the main key points in the notes only. Okay, so the idea behind notes is for you to not capture everything, but highlight key points only. Okay, so that's how you prepare notes. Okay, so when you get into habit of making notes, you want to continue the same habit when you join meetings with product owner. Okay, you don't necessarily have to make notes for every single meeting that you attend, but important meetings, okay, where notes will decide the decision making. For example, when I was talking to product owner, now I know if I'm having a casual chit chat, informal discussion with product owner, I don't have to make notes. Okay, but when I am talking to product owner about a specific project and what will be the work that I have to do in that project, then I will definitely make some points that what is the project name, what is the client name, okay, what type of work it is. I'll definitely try to make certain notes so that based on those notes, I can go back and do a revision for myself. If I have any follow-up questions, I can maybe connect with product owner on the same day or the next day basis availability. Okay. So the first point is get into the habit of making notes without fail for every single meeting. If possible, start doing it right away. Okay. So that by the time you get into a job as a BA, you already are into the habit of making notes. Otherwise, on your day one, you will go and say that I never told you to make notes. Now you are attending multiple meetings. So you have to juggle between meetings. Okay? And that's when you will realize that because I don't have notes, so I don't remember what I discussed in the previous meeting. Okay? Plus, not just for your revision, the kind of questions that you ask. Okay? Sometimes in a meeting, you have already discussed a question and you have made a note of the answer also. So if I forget anything, I can go through the notes and those questions will be clarified again. If I don't make notes, what will happen? I'll send an email to product owner or to the client, or I'll set up one more follow-up meeting asking the same question. Chances are the product owner or the client will get angry that why do you keep asking the same question again and again? So it's better for me to make notes so that I can go through those notes rather than troubling people by asking same question again and again. Okay. So that's where I said when you start asking about questions, okay, you get into habit of making notes. So that way I'm not repeating myself again and again. That way the other person will not get angry on me easily. Why? Because I'm not repeating my questions. That's the first change that you have to bring in yourself. The second change is in the attitude. Okay. So, for example, let me put it here. Generally, as human beings, what we do is we highlight problems in a given situation. Say, for example, you want to start your own business. Yeah. So, lot of people around you will come and highlight the challenges that you have to arrange for money. How will you attract customers? How will you go for sales or marketing? There is too much of risk. Don't go for business. Okay? Whereas, whereas I'm not saying that there are no challenges in any work. There are challenges, but the attitude towards those challenges matter. As a BA, we need to bring in solution oriented attitude. That means if anyone tells me there's a challenge, the next moment I should be thinking is what could be the solution for this challenge. Okay. And now, solution oriented attitude does not mean that I am the one who is going to give the solution. Solution oriented attitude means I will push people to find solution. Okay, I'll push people to find solution. For example, client gives me a requirement. Okay, and let's say that I'm not able to put the technical dots together. So what do? I'll start talking to technical architect. See if I can involve technical architect to identify a solution. Maybe I can talk to my developer. Maybe I can talk to the technical lead. Okay. So I connect with different people to identify what could be the solution. I can connect to SME. Suppose I'm having trouble understanding business requirements. Maybe I can connect with product owner again. Maybe I can talk to SMEs. Maybe I can take some training. Okay. So when I started working in US health insurance, what I realized is I'm able to understand what people are saying, but still I'm not able to understand anything. Why? Because I don't even understand basic terms of US health insurance. Okay? People were saying that, like client would say that for our PPO business is going down, we need to bring in new adjudication rules for PPO business. So I understood that there is something called PPO business. I understood we need to bring in new adjudication rule. But the problem was, what is this PPO? And why is this PPO business going down? Okay. So sometimes the challenge could be that we don't know the basic knowledge about the industry. We don't have the basic knowledge about the industry. So I started taking on some trainings related to US health insurance. And that's when I understood some of the basic terms. Now I can I can have I can properly understand what client is saying, and I can accordingly have a better solution oriented approach. Okay. So there will be challenges in whatever work you do. Okay. The problem is when you are stuck with the challenge. Okay. So you should have a solution oriented mindset, which means you should push people to identify solution. Solution oriented mindset does not mean that you only have to identify solution. See, based on experience, there will be time when you will gain sufficient experience to provide solution. When I started as a BA, for first 2 3 years, I would rely on others to give me solution. Once I gained necessary experience, then I started providing solution. Okay. But one thing that always helped me was solution oriented approach, that okay, there is a problem, but then what's the solution to this problem? Okay. Sometimes the solution lies in identifying right people. So I'll connect with multiple people. I'll talk to architects, SMEs, leads, product owners, multiple people to see who can help me identify the solution. Okay. Now the solution oriented approach has one more point, okay, that we need to take care of. And that is, whenever we are providing negative updates to product owner or to client, okay, don't just provide the negative update alone. See, there will be times when suppose you need to finish a work in 1 week, and 5 days, in 5 days you need to finish a work, 4 days have already completed. Okay. Today is fifth day, and now your team is telling you we are facing some server breakdown or some issues, so we will not be able to finish the work today. Okay. Now you are given the job of providing negative update, that go and tell to the client that we will be not able to finish the work by today. So what do you do? Okay. That's where again your solution oriented approach comes into picture. When I used to give negative updates that we could not finish the work as planned, mostly I found that client got angry. Okay. And they were not angry because we could not finish the work on time. They were angry because of a follow-up question. So they asked me, okay, you could not finish the work on time. What's the plan? And I did not have an answer. I said, let me go back to my team and come back to you. And they said, you did not even prepare a plan for this. So what kind of work are you guys doing? So whenever you have to give any type of negative updates, like the software is not working as expected, we have got some defects into the software, or we could not finish the work on time. So whenever you have to give any type of negative update to product owner or to your external clients, ensure that you always go with an action plan. Okay. Don't just simply give negative update and think that everything will go well. The moment you say we could not finish the work on time, definitely they'll get angry, but they want to understand why you could not finish the work on time. Then what different are you going to do this time that the work will be over? Okay. So talk to your team, understand what the challenges are, how those challenges can be addressed, create an action plan, and then go and deliver the negative update to your client that we could not finish the work on time. Why we could not finish the work on time? Because there was an unexpected server breakdown that happened. And what are we doing to fix it? We are working with infrastructure team to get the server back up and running so that we can continue the work. And what is the tentative new timeline? So we are expecting to finish our work in next 4 days. Okay. Now, when you give this complete update instead of just delivering negative news, if you give the update, what was the issue, why that issue happened, how are we going to resolve that issue, and what is the new timeline. Okay. When you give this complete update along with negative news, now the client looks more happy. Okay. So, what issue? What is the issue? Why it occurred? Then how to solve this issue? And then revised timelines. Now, I'm not saying when you give update in this way, client is not angry. Obviously, client is still angry, but somewhere they are also satisfied that you are actively working on it. Okay. If you just simply deliver negative news and no action plan, they will be more angry. If you give negative news plus action plan, they will be less angry. Okay. So have a solution oriented approach. And another part of that solution oriented approach is how you deliver negative news. You can apply this negative news logic in your day-to-day life also, in your personal life also. When you go and tell someone that a work could not be finished, why it could not be finished. You might experience that people are less angry. They're angry. I'm not saying they won't be angry. They're angry, but less angry. Then the third point is building a good rapport with the help of communication skills. Okay. As BA, you need to attend lot of meetings. You need to interact with lot of people. So building a good rapport matters. Okay. Why it matters? I'll give you a small example. So where I have like talked with multiple people on the infrastructure side. Okay. So generally in IT, we take care of the software development. Then there is an infrastructure team which takes care of the hardware stuff, like maintaining a server, maintaining the disk size. Okay, whether the disk is corrupted, then replacing that disk, taking backup of data on a disk. Okay. So all those hardware related stuff is being taken care by the infrastructure team. Okay. Now, generally, whenever a server is down, infrastructure team, what they will say, raise a ticket. Once we get the ticket, we will start working on it. Once we reach on your ticket, then we will give you a resolution. Okay. Sometimes there are multiple tickets. So what happens is by the time the chance for my ticket comes, or 1 day has already passed by. Now, what I have done is I have built good rapport with the infrastructure team. So whenever there's an issue, I'll ping them. I'll tell them that can you please get it resolved? I'll definitely put a ticket, but it might take me 5-10 minutes to put a ticket. Meanwhile, can you work on resolving this server being down issue? Now, out of good rapport, what will happen? They will work on addressing my query immediately. Parallelly, I'll work on raising a ticket. Okay, and that's how we will get the job done. If you don't have good rapport, what will happen? They will say raise a ticket. You raise a ticket, then it comes into their queue. Once it comes into their queue, you reach out to them. That is this resolved? They say your ticket is not high priority. We have other high priority items. So if you think your work is high priority, talk to your manager, increase the priority of it, and then accordingly we will address it. So if you don't have good rapport, you will be stuck in the processes itself. Now, when I am able to get something done within 5 to 10 minutes, okay, or in half an hour, or 1 hour, or 1 day, something that should take 1 week, if that can be done in 2 days, because of my good rapport, client is also happy. Client thinks that I have some magic because of which the work gets done in 1 hour only or 1 day only. Okay? But that magic is purely rapport, nothing else. So as a BA, you have to have focus on building good rapport. Next point is being proactive. Okay. So like I said, the negative news will always be there. Okay. In IT, most of the project at least once will go through a negative phase, okay, where the updates will not be happening on time, the team is facing challenges, infrastructure related issue, people have resigned and they are not interested in working, or people are interested in working but they don't have the appropriate knowledge. So some or the other negative part will be attached to the project. Okay, the important thing is you being proactive. I don't want to be reactive, that you give me a negative news and then I react to it. Okay. The important part as a BA, the skill that you will gain is being proactive. Sometimes when I see a developer saying that I am writing the code, next day again the developer says I'm still writing the code. Then again, the next day, the developer says, I'm still writing the code. Now, for 3 consecutive days, if I hear same update from developer in our meetings, that gives me an alarm that let me reach out to developer and ask him like if he has any type of problem. Okay? Because the code, it could be possible that there's a lot of coding to be done and that's why it is taking time, or it could be possible that a developer is having some challenges but is not openly accepting the challenges. Okay? So I don't wait for fourth day for my developer to drop in the negative news. I reach out to my developer on the third day proactively. I trying to identify if there is any negative update for me. Okay? So that I can proactively reach out to my client that, hey, we are having some type of issues, okay? But please be assured that we are actively working on resolving those issues. Suppose I have a meeting with my client on Monday, okay? And on Monday in the meeting, I go and tell client that, you know what, we could not finish the coding, so the software is not ready. So client will be more angry. Whereas if I tell client on Thursday itself that by Monday we will not be ready and the action plan on why we will not be ready. Okay? Client will be slightly less angry that at least you notified me in advance. Okay. So this is what one more change we want to bring in ourselves, that rather than being reactive, if we can be proactive. Okay, anticipating things, anticipating where things can go wrong and addressing them proactively. Then the next is the knowledge part. Okay, so I already told you one is you start preparing meeting notes, but along with meeting notes, one more key thing is building industry knowledge. Okay, so whichever industry you get to work as a BA, whether you work in banking domains, let's say you work for an IT company which is providing services to HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank. Okay, irrespective of whether it is HDFC or ICICI, they are part of banking sector. So you should try to browse YouTube, LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, or nowadays even AI can help you with that. Okay. So rather than going through a proper course, you can take help of AI as well to understand basic terms. But the idea is that go online, talk to people also if needed. If you don't feel comfortable learning online, talk to people as well, and then try to build industry knowledge. With industry knowledge, you will be able to ask relevant questions to your stakeholders. Okay. Otherwise, most of the time you will just be taking instructions and no questions. Why? Because I don't have industry knowledge. Like I gave you that earlier example of US health insurance. When I did not have health insurance knowledge, I was not asking any questions. But when I started taking some trainings, when I started understanding those basic terms, then I started asking more and more questions which were quite relevant to the project. Okay. So building industry knowledge. Then second thing is in meetings, whatever action items will be there. Okay. You make a note of it. Okay. If you want, you can set a reminder for yourself. If you are comfortable just preparing note, keep a note, but ensure that every meeting, whatever action item is there, you follow up on those action items. Okay. Now, these are some of the basic skills or competencies that we expect a BA to inculcate over time. Okay? I'm not saying if you are not in habit, it will come overnight, but I don't want to face challenges in your job. Okay. So what should happen is you should try to inculcate these habits starting today. Okay. So for example, at least making notes. Then if you're already working somewhere, if you have any problem, then thinking about the solution as well, that what could be the potential solution. If you in your daily life also you'll be interacting with lot of people, use your communication skills to build rapport with people. Okay. See, rapport does not mean that going behind them, asking hundreds of questions. Rapport can be established by gaining their trust. And how do you gain trust of someone? By executing a task for them, okay, and executing it efficiently. Okay. So you take simple example of a restaurant chain. Okay. Why do people eat from Domino's Pizza or any pizza outlet for that matter? Okay. You go to a pizza outlet, you order a pizza. The entire experience matter. How the staff is treating you, what kind of food is served to you, okay? What's the taste of the food? If you are overall happy with the experience, you want to go back to Domino's again and again. Okay. So the same thing happens for building rapport as well. You have to gain that trust. The client has come to you for a specific task for software development. Your developer expect you to write good requirement documents. Okay. Now, if you are doing your job efficiently, people are happy with you. Naturally, over time, you will build that rapport. Okay. Don't expect that in one day or one week I'll build rapport. Okay. Sometimes building rapports may take months, sometimes it may take years as well, but it will happen for sure. Okay. So you need to get into habit of accepting all these points. Okay. Other than that, if you go to online trainings, they will simply say that you need to have competencies or skills like creative thinking, learning, systems thinking, conceptual thinking. Okay. All these uh, hi-fi words will be thrown at you without any clear action item on how do I achieve this thinking, how do I become creative overnight, okay, or how do I inculcate conceptual thinking. So I don't want to bombard you with multiple skills or competencies that may or may not help you. But what I want you to do is you should definitely be thinking around these points, which will definitely help you in your job. Okay. In tomorrow's class, we will go over these communication and interaction skills part. Okay. We will take a deeper look into these points. Okay, and then we will be officially done with the basics part. Okay, then day after tomorrow, we start with the software development life cycle. So, what is software development life cycle? How it will help us to build a software, and how a BA contributes through different phases of software development life cycle. So, once you understand what SDLC is, what are the different phases and what's the BA's contribution in all the phases. For you, it will be easier to execute your tasks or responsibilities. Now we are at time to end our class. So before we end our class, any questions?
No, I have nothing as of now.
Yeah, sure, Vijay. So if no one else has anything, then we can end our class for today. We'll connect tomorrow and we'll go deep dive into these communication and interaction skills aspect. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We'll connect tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a nice day.